Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to welcome back to the Goldstein On Gelt Show author and speaker and ultra-successful entrepreneur, Jay Myers. Jay, a real pleasure to have you.
Appreciate it, Doug. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, since last we spoke, a lot's been going on with your book, Hitting the Curveballs, How Crisis Can Strengthen and Grow Your Business. In fact, I understand it's due out as an audiobook soon.
That's right, Doug. In fact, we're hoping the next month or so to have it on iTunes and audible.com. A lot of fun putting that together. Writing a book is one thing, and then having it where you can hear it is just a totally different experience, but I'm excited about it.
All right, we are all excited about it, too, and we will, of course, put links to that at the Goldstein On Gelt show notes. Jay, one of the things I've been thinking about that when I read the book and really enjoyed it, and something you and I have spoken to offline a little bit, is how, unlike other businessmen, you're kind of excited about hiring millennials and bringing them on. And, well, quite frankly, a lot of people have rather disparaging remarks to make about millennials. How is it that you have such a different view on it?
Well, Doug, it was interesting. When back in 2007, when I had the major crisis in the business where I lost 80% of my sales team, and the world was falling apart, literally, with all these guys that were gone, and I was trying to recover, I started thinking about what way do we need to do that. And you look at some short-term fixes, hiring experienced people, and I just kind of kept playing that thing over in my head, and I was thinking, I don't know that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I guess this is kind of a goofy thing to say, but I remember something Jack Nicklaus said when he was being approached about the seniors tour. He said, "Are you excited about it?" He said, "Well, not really. I've been beating those guys for years." So I was thinking about these experienced guys coming on, and I had this weird thing in my head. I kind of been beating these guys for years. Do I really want to do that from competitors or whoever? But then was approached about the opportunity to hire some of the younger folks. And I'm a baseball nut, obviously the title of the book and all those things, and I kept thinking about the idea of a farm system. And Doug, as you know, I'm a big Yankee fan. I kept thinking about how the Yankees been successful with these players, Derek Jeter and all these guys, and Rivera. They developed them through their farm system. And the farm system gave an opportunity for you to evaluate these people over time to see if they fit. You can train them the way you want to, but how they fit in the organization. And so that summer, we made a conscious effort to recruit young folks that we could train and have them indoctrinate the way we wanted them to work in the business and teach them the different things to be successful in the industry. Now, I'm proud to tell you, Doug, 7 years later, these guys have just done a terrific job and had record sales even during the recession.
So maybe you can break some of the stereotypes. A lot of people feel that millennials, well, quite frankly, they're lazy or they have this huge sense of entitlement. Is that your experience as well?
I think that there's a certain aspect that you just have to kind of, as I'm a baby boomer, you kind of have to get over yourself. That we had it so hard and these guys have had it so easy. I mean, this is a generation that went through 9/11. This is a generation that's had all this uncertainty in the world and the meltdown economics and everything. I think that the thing that's worked for us is I don't talk to them as if and talk down to them as, they're young and I'm older and like a parent or something. I treat them with respect. They're knowledgeable, they're smart, they're technical. I try to appeal to that personality, and particularly in my business with video conferencing and all the high-tech type of systems we deal with. I try to tap into, you certainly understand this. Technically, let's see how we can make your understanding of this successful in a sales environment or whatever we're getting them to try to get them to do. But I think that it starts with that one word, respect. You just don't talk down to them. And then the other thing, too, Doug, is you set some guidelines. Here's what I expect out of you. And I think that's a very big key, expectations and accountability. I need you to come to work at this time. I need you to, here's how we dress around here. Here's how we work.
And how do you identify these people when they send in their resumes, you invite them in for an interview? How do you identify if someone's going to make it?
Well, it's interesting. We've been very successful with having people with personal relationships where we've been referred to people through existing employees. So I'll tell you a funny story. One of my most successful people that sells service contracts for me that I actually mentioned in the book and Hitting the Curveballs, he came from, not making this up, he used to repo cars.
That's a great background.
So, yeah, and now he's selling service contracts. Doug, he is so excited. He's been very successful. He is just excited to come to work because he doesn't have people cussing him out or hanging up on him, or both, on a daily basis.
I guess
And
that's
so,
it's a real step up. Okay.
yeah, an odd kind of thing where you recruit somebody, but with a skill set that he has had attention to detail, did a lot of work over the phone, service contract sales for us. That's how we do it. So really done well there. We have an ex-banker, young man, terrific with numbers. Guess what he does for me? He does federal government sales as well as state contract in colleges and universities. Guess what those two areas are very, very big on? Numbers.
Sure.
All the alphabet soup of the different contracts and everything. He's got a perfect mind for that. And I think the other thing, too, is young people, like any other folks out there, if you present an opportunity, if you go to them and say, look, I've got something here. You're technically astute enough to be able to handle this. Here's a really great opportunity. You're a young guy. You just got married. You want your wife maybe not to have to work forever. You work hard here, and you make enough sales. She can stay home with the kids, whatever you need. And you put that opportunity in front of them. You train them. You coach them. Good things can happen. They have for us.
That's a model that I really don't know if it works for everyone, but certainly you are able to execute that very well. We're talking with Jay Myers, who is a repeat customer on the Goldstein On Gelt Show. If you missed the previous interview where he spoke a lot about really getting through a tremendous amount of trouble, not the least of which was a major embezzlement and a company that was nearly on its face, and yet he grew it from $11 million to $25 million during the Great Recession. So if you didn't hear that story, check out that interview on Goldstein on Gelt. In fact, you can see the video of it at YouTube. Go to YouTube and look up Goldstein on Gelt and Jay Myers. Now, Jay, in your book, Hitting the Curveballs, you talk about all sorts of curveballs, and one of the curveballs that so many businesses face is dealing with banking. The banks themselves and just the situation, they throw us curveballs. And quite frankly, even though the government has lowered interest rates, which from an investment standpoint has certainly been bad for a lot of people, especially retirees, it was supposed to help the businesses. But people feel the banks aren't being free with the money. They're not giving it out. How have you dealt with the curveballs that your banks have thrown you?
Well, Doug, it's interesting. So many small business owners look at the banks as an adversarial relationship. And, excuse me, in looking at that situation for us, our bank, Bancorp South, is actually not just our banker, they're a customer of ours. So instinctively at the front end, I looked at it and said, you know what? I mean, we already have a closer relationship than most people have the banks because they're a customer and a good customer. But the other part of it, too, is that I realized several years ago that to grow the business, you had to have access to capital and credit. And the closer relationship I have with this bank, that's one thing I could check off my list of things to worry about in terms of stress of having to deal with things on a day-to-day basis. So I reached out to my bank, and these relationships have built through the years to the point that today I'm very proud to tell you I'm on the Bancorp South Advisory Board. So myself and several other businessmen in the area, I have a lot of fun with it. We meet, every other month. There's guest speakers. They also give the state of the bank. I've learned a lot about banking. And so the interesting thing is, as different moments in time where I've had to finance large-scale contracts or whatever, when I call them, it's like it's a very friendly conversation. I'm very transparent with them, by the way, for your listeners. You want to have that close relationship with the bank, no surprises.
Mm-hmm. Right, that's
they don't like
critical.
Surprises. But once you do that, it's a wonderful relationship. I'll tell you how wonderful it's been the last few years on a personal note. Since we are a good customer and partner and everything, last year they called me up and we got tickets to see Paul McCartney that my wife is still talking about. So, but it's a lot of fun. And I think if you do those kind of reach out and look at it in a different way, that it's not like one of those, oh, my God, I got to talk to the bank. Have them be part of your growth plan.
Well, it sounds like it's it's the relationship you're talking about, in other words, actually personal relationships as opposed to, a lot of people, they're banking with a major bank. They're banking with Citibank. They don't have anyone they can go talk to and sit on their board.
Right. Exactly. And I think we're very fortunate from that standpoint. I'm not suggesting everybody needs to go to a smaller bank. That's your own business. I'm just saying that in terms of dealing with your bank, yeah, you know what? Any way you can, try to form a relationship personally with these folks and who you're dealing with so that good times or bad times or in between times, you have an ability to reach out and get help.
Yeah, I think that's a very critical point. As my day job, Jay, is that I'm an investment advisor. And I deal with clients a lot with their financial plans and their long-term retirement planning and financial plans. And people often say, well, why can't I just go online and I'll fill in one of those questionnaires and they'll tell me how I should invest? And I really think the answer is very much like what you're saying, that in every field you want to have a personal relationship, because when your advisor or your bank or your contractors or your clients know you better, you're able to help them better and they're able to help you better, and you don't end up saying, gee, I didn't know that, because you do know the people very well. Jay, we're actually nearing the end of our time, but tell me something. Hitting the Curveballs, which is your second book, if you had to say one thing you want people to take away from that book, after someone finishes it, puts it down, what do you want them to think?
When you have crisis in your life, it's not the end of the world. It can actually make you a better person and a better businessman successfully going through it. You can learn a lot about health and through it and be successful.
All right, I think that is a great lesson. And now in the last few seconds, just tell us, how can people follow you, follow your book, and keep track of what's going on?
Well, the website for the book is Jaymyers, JAYMYERS, CEO.com, all one series of words there. And then also, the book is available, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's on ebook. We got Nook. We've got Kindle. And then soon to be, we're hoping very shortly that Audible.com and iTunes will have it on the audio side.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing that, and we'll put links to all of that at the show notes at GoldsteinOnGelt.com. Jay Myers, thanks again for joining us right here.
Appreciate it, Doug.
You've been listening to the Goldstein On Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.GoldsteinOnGelt.com. The Goldstein On Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein On Gelt Show.